Hi there. This is, well, you know me, Cartea, with a really interesting story about a house. Well, it started with a house. A house that you will see in Newport Harbor, and everyone has, who has either been on a boat, gone on a jog, everyone been, God, I would love to live in that house. Whoa, that is the most smoking house there is. And as a matter of fact, if it gets sold for its current asking price right now, it will be the most expensive house ever sold in Newport Beach history. And at one point, it actually was the most expensive house sold in Newport Beach history. Which house am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about 18 Harbor Road. And it is spectacular. Oh no, this is not that kind of story. You'll see in a second. Because every neighborhood has that one house that, well, kind of like the Burbs house. Have you ever seen the movie The Burbs? Yeah, kind of like that. But it's nothing to sneeze at. 14,200 square feet, 8-car underground garage on its own private island, gated, security. It's on a half an acre. It is got a boat slip that can take a 120-foot boat. It is by far the jewel of Newport Beach, okay? So, since I'm now done sucking this house's dick, let's start with how it started. Well, Mr. Caver, as in Caver Savings and Loan, put down a $7.7 million loan to give himself a loan to build this house on Harbor Island. Well, he ran into some financial trouble, and he could not complete the project. You know, he had to sell it. So he, sadly enough, had to sell it. And sold it to this one guy, who, Asian businessman, who himself found himself in financial trouble. Once again. Ouch. Really sad. Okay? So, he then sold it to this old guy, 84 years old, Mr. Simon. He died within 1 year. Sold it to another couple, no relation, named Arnold and Debbie Simon. No relation. Well, already a pretty bad chain of history. Usually this house broke people. It broke Mr. Caver. It broke Caver Savings and Loan. And arguably broke this couple too, as they were already in some, they say they were in a bad relationship sort of thing. And it was the saddest thing, because this lady right here was actually one of the sweetest, nicest ladies in the world. They made their fortune by a clothing company, and they were doing really well, and they moved in, and she used this house to host all sorts of things. Hosting, the Miss Newport Beach pageant, the AIDS Pediatric Foundation, benefits for hospitals, you name it. She was a very big socialite, very public woman, and very much cared about other people. She lived in this huge jewel of a house, but she was very down to earth. She was from New Jersey, New York. She was very nice. She was kind. She didn't look down at people, and she was caring. She wanted to do something more. And everybody reaches that age where you have it all or have nothing. But it doesn't matter if you have it all or nothing. You want to do more. At some point, you want to go out and change the world. You want to do something great. Well, pretty soon, the marriage fell apart. Her husband moved back to New Jersey. Her sons, he had 2 sons and a daughter, they moved back to New Jersey. And during this time before that, they were having a hard time with the teenagers, how they were, they had an unlimited supply of money, everything like that, and somehow endless allowances, and all the while, the clothing company that did clothes for example, Calvin Klein jeans and subcontract for other people in the clothing industry, was falling. And around the recession of 2008, this house was put on for sale for $38 million. The company was going insolvent, going bankrupt. The holding company that had this house was also going bankrupt. And he was seeing other women, and she was not doing very well. It got so bad that the company that held the house was bankrupt. The house was in foreclosure. And in the hottest of the summer months, in August and September, she wouldn't even turn on the air conditioner in a sweltering, humid heat. And do remember that Newport Harbor was a swampland before McFadden and the Irvine Company, or the beginning of the Irvine Company, actually dredged up that area. Like where Lido Island is right now, which, by the way, their land lease comes up in 2023. That's gonna be fun. Used to be a swamp. No kidding. No farther than maybe 5 miles away, you will see a wetland. You'll see the Bolsa Chica wetland. You'll see all these wetland areas. Well, that was basically what Newport Harbor was like before that. So this place gets humid and stanky and hot. Okay, and imagine having this house. This huge house. You just have to look at it from above and you go, whoa, yeah, that with no air conditioning, that much sun, God, that's had to be tough, you know? So I had this house sold for $38 million that it was put on sale for in 2008, 2009. Everything might have been okay, but things got more desperate. She called her friend over to clear out her closets, clear out everything. And the sweltering hot heat, and she could just remember, it was so damn hot in there. Duh. The only thing that her and her friend really had much in common, and this shows me what kind of person that Debbie really was she was from New York. Just like her. And they just got along. They clicked. Totally different backgrounds, totally different lives, totally different everything. But she was her friend. And she came over and helped her move, tried to figure out what they could sell, what they can keep, what have you. But this house had a huge price tag. And along with the cutting of the alimony and everything else, things got desperate. Well, one September day, she grabbed a heavy extension cord and hung herself from the foyer banister. Killed herself. It was a very sad death. There was a lot of talk, rumors, speculation. But let's just face it, the bigger the house, the bigger the bills. And the harder it is to actually carry that. Okay? And that's really sad. Well, a couple of real estate moguls in Colorado bought the house. And although they had a blind trust, yes, they were known as the Trues. The wife was a spokeswoman. A guy was from the Midwest, and they owned hundreds of millions of dollars in rental properties, not including this house, which they bought for $27 million. They bought for $14 million and two parcels worth about $9 million of land they had traded to buy this house. Amazing that this house was sold and got through with all of this being in disrepair and everything else. Well, they went in, they renovated the whole house, they did a great job, and they are also really nice people, from what I hear. And they're now selling this house for $60 million. Now, will they get $60 million considering I consider it's probably a $45 million house in this day and age? Who knows? But, even though this house has a very sad legacy, and it does, and every neighborhood just seems to have that house, that haunted house, that crazy house. This house does not have that vibe to me. But I'm sure going to think twice before taking a look at it. Because this house has a history, and its biggest history, why do you think it's the most negative house in the block? It's the biggest house, the one with the most upkeep, the one with the highest property taxes, the one with the biggest boat slip and the biggest boat slip lease. That's why. So think before you buy. So until next time, this is Chris Cartea. Don't do a changing, or I'll find you.